Hello everyone, welcome to Green Chili's Blender Boys Blender tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to create a ripple pattern where it's going to change colors. So let's directly dive into this. So this is a basic Blender setup. Here's the basic default cube, the lamp. So let's start by deleting the lamp. So in the bottom left corner, you can see which keys I'm trying to press, and you can just follow the tutorial accordingly. So yeah. Let's start directly jumping into the geometry nodes tab. Here we do not need this left side window, so we'll be just closing it. After selecting the cube, and let's click on the new button. Let's start by disconnecting these two nodes. Okay, so we'll be adding a grid node. So just search for grid and placing it over here. Let's make this grid of size 5 by 5 and just start with 20 vertices on each x and y axis, and let's start connecting these two nodes. Here we can see a basic grid, and we'll be adding another node called subdivide. So subdivide mesh. So we can subdivide with this mesh. We can just simply make these changes instead of just going through the vertices. That's the reason why we have added this. We can just go through the wireframe node and just see how many subdivisions are happening. So you can, if the level is increased, let's make it to level 4. So, okay, yeah, these are very good number of vertices. Let's go back to the solid view. Here we are going to create a ripple pattern. So for that, we have to add a new texture. So in this texture submenu, there is a thing called magic texture. In this magic texture, what we can do is we can just change the way all the points on the grid such that it behaves according to this node. So for that, what we can do is, let us drag this aside. We will be adding a set position node. So we can start searching by set. This is a set position node. So we can add the set position node over here. So after adding it, here's the offset. So here we can connect this factor to the offset, but by doing so, like all the three axes would be changed. So we should be adding another node. So that node we can just create adding it like combine xyz, combine xyz. So here we can see it in the x direction. We do not want that. We want it in the z direction. Here we can see there is an effect. Okay, but this is too long. Let's bring down the scale to 1. Here we can see this ripple effect, and we can even go further down. Let's start experimenting with pointing. Yes, this is how it basically looks like. So yeah, we have basically created a distortion, a disturbed field. So by increasing the distortion thing, we can just see how the ripple pattern is going up, right? So yeah, and we can just increase this scale in such way. Let's make it to 0.4, 0.3 or 0.4. So yeah, that's pretty good. So if we just increase it, we can see many things are happening over here, right? So yeah, let's make it to So but there are many disturbances over here, so these are not like smooth. So making it smooth, let's add a set shade smooth node at the end. So after doing so, it will be a bit smoother. Okay, so yeah, we can just by manipulating this, we can see how this distortion thing is happening, and we can just make this depth as 1, so it will be much more smoother, right? We can find a small rippling pattern over here. Now what we could do is we could add a material to it, such that we will be directly going to the shading tab. In the shading tab, we'll be selecting this, and we'll be adding a material. We'll be adding, let's say, blue color. And to make it better, let's make this transmission up to 1. It's up to you. You can manipulate these things. But we are not able to see any effect. That's because a new node should be added in the geometry node. That is called. We can directly search through the thing called material. The node name is called set material. We can add it just before the group output, and we can select the material. Here, in order to preview it, let's go to the preview. So here we can see the material has been added. but it's like a single plain color. So we can go back to the shading node. We can duplicate this principal BSDF shader, and in order to add both the things, we can add a mix shader. So we'll be adding mix shader. So both of these colors would be there. So let's make this color to red, so we can see a difference. So both blue and red are there, but both are mixed, forming a single color, and we do not want that. So for that, we'll be adding a new node called texture coordinate. From this texture coordinate, what we'll be doing is we'll be using this normal data, such that whatever the face, like based on the direction which it is facing, we will be able to determine which color it should display. So in order to do so, we can add another node called, we'll be directly searching here. We need to make a vector into a single thing, so we'll be separating. So let's write for separate. So there is a thing called separate XYZ. We can add it over here, and we can link this normal to the vector, and we can connect the Z to the factor. So here we can see that there is a change. The bottom part is blue and the top part is like in a reddish color, and yeah, but we want to see both the colors on a single face. So instead of Z, because which is facing in the Z direction, we'll be attaching Y to this factor. So after attaching Y to this factor, let's just make it a bit clearer. After attaching this Y to this thing, we can see that if we just try to rotate this thing, it's like it's in the majority of the color is blue over here. If we just try to rotate, it's trying to change it to red. Here it is blue, here it is red. So this is a kind of effect which we are trying to get. In order to make this much more prominent, what we can do is we can just try to tweak some of these settings such that this color difference would be good. So this is a like translucent bluish color, because the transmission is, we have set to 1, as here it's like a more a reddish shade. So these two shades are there. And if you go back to the geometry node, if we try to change this distortion factor, if we try to change this, we'll be able to see a cool looking pattern. So there is a red, and as the number increases, it's changing into blue, and slowly it's changing into red. So we can leverage this cool effect. So for that, what we can do is we can in this position, we can just add a thing called hash frame frame. So what it does is, if you just start playing, so the animation, if you just start playing the animation by clicking spacebar, we can see there is a cool looking pattern, but directly jumps such that this number is very high, right? So it's like now it is like 141 frame, but we need to make this a bit slower. So for that, what we can do is we can add a new node called value. So this value node will be there over here. In this value node, we'll be adding frame. So this frame can go into this, and I mean this dictates how the animation should go. So now we are not able to see any effect, because it didn't matter, like even if it is here or here. So but we can add by we can make changes by adding few math nodes. So we can just start by searching math. We can add a math node. We can insert the node in between these two things, and we can select divide. So we can divide it by, let's say 10. If we divide it by 10, it will be 10 times slower. So we are dividing this particular value by 10, and it's that value is going in here, right? So if we just hover over it, you can see the value of 5.2 when it is 52 over here. So when we go back to the starting frame and let's start playing the animation, now the animation is 10 times slower. Now we can clearly see how the ripple effect is going on, right? So fine, we are able to do this much. This effect is okay, looking cool, but if you pause it, there is we can take advantage of another thing. For example, if we view it in this direction, it's like as shown in the beginning, it is in a red shade, but on the opposite side it is in the blue shade. So if we can make this rotate while it is animating and while it is moving, so similarly if I play this animation, if I rotate this, it will be a much more cool looking. Sometimes it will be blue and sometimes it will be red, and that kind of cool looking feature we want to include it. So let's pause it, go back to the first frame, and let's go to the layout thing. Here we can make it into a render view. So this is how the animation looks currently. And now what we can do is we can go we can select this. We can go to the item submenu over here. In this rotation part, similarly, what we have done in the geometry nodes, we can just include frame. And if you have included it, let's go back to the first frame, and if we start animating it, it's rotating too fast, so one cannot perceive what's happening. So let's go back to the first frame. What we can do is, instead of frame, we can just divide it by let's say 100. If we divide it by 100, it will be much more slower. So we can see the cool looking effect, like it's going much more slower. But in a short video of very short video of approximately 10 seconds, this effect is too small. So let's so we can just make it like 20, and it's like this effect. So if you are pleased with your thing, you can just make this fixed, and yeah. So this is pretty much it. In order to make this better, what we could do is we can add lighting. So we can just click on Shift A, add few lights. So you can just drag it over here and duplicate it and drag it over here. Try to rotate it. It's up to you. It's totally customized. So it's, if you are pleased with results, that's like more than the thing. So yeah, if you start animating it, and yeah, let's go to the camera view, and let's try to fix this camera view by going to the view, selecting this option, and yeah, make sure that it fix most of the view is like this thing. Okay, and if you start animating it, so this is a rippling effect which you are trying to do. So you can just tweak all this camera settings, lighting settings until you are pleased to do. So let's directly dive into the part where we did it. Okay, so yeah, after tweaking those settings, what we can do is just changed the AV render engine to cycles and made it to GPU compute if it is available to you guys, and just the small render settings like changing the number of samples, changing the max bounces, and adjusting the lights. So this is a final thing which we can observe. So if this is looking good and in the current camera view, then we can start rendering it. So let's start rendering it. So yeah, after rendering and tweaking a few settings, here is the final render. So yes, so please consider sharing and subscribing to this channel.